within the report that said that is more important than leak detection.
Yes.
And
Anything that can be done to ensure the accuracy or improve the accuracy,
That's
we
right.
definitely need to do. And meters are a big problem, not just that one, but meters at homes and
Yes.
location, customer
that's
locations.
step two.
That's
Step two is what you need to do is you need to do an audit of the meters within the homes, because you're showing a historical usage far below what the state standard is. Now, you can hear the excuse you have part-time people, or elderly people that are within the building. But is that really true, or do we have inaccurate meters? Do we need to audit each and every one of our meters
Probably a
in
little
order
of
to
everything.
determine the accuracy?
Richard had a question before, so why don't we let him?
Kevin.
I mean, Kevin, no.
Let me run to the metro real quick. I'll be right back.
You are acknowledged, anyhow.
She's the chair, though. I was waiting for her. First of all, in regard to the knowledge of the commissioners, I was talking to one of the commissioners the other day, and he told me that when we were here together on the 4th of February last year, and I was gathering all the information, he knew what the problem was right there. And he said, I could have saved you a lot of time and energy, but I didn't. So
Either
that's,
that or he's just, making
in regard to the meters, though, it's like when you look at the meters, how much are you really going to make or save when most people are billed an average anyway of 1,000 or less, or 1 to 2,000? So how accurate do the meters really need to be?
Well, they need to be pretty accurate.
As opposed to the cost.
If you're gonna-
As opposed to the cost of replacing them. That's
Well, there could be several meters, to his point, that once you look at them, might be stuck, might not be reading, so it's warranted. You're looking at loss factors which are beyond what you would call expected, because the number of gallons is so low. So you have to answer that question that Charlie raised. Is it really that they're elderly population, that they're transient populations, and that therefore we are 1/3 of the average in the Commonwealth, or do we have other factors contributing? And the gross rough answer at the top, just from experience, would be yes, there will always be other factors. And meters could clearly be one. We could have not only a type 1 error, we could have, and it looks to me like there are a series of type 2 errors. In other words, one wrong thing at stage 1 leads to and is compounded by another wrong thing at stage 2.
right, but if they go from 1,000 gallons a month to 2,000 gallons a month, it's like $6 more, $8
Times
more.
170 customers times some percentage of meters that'll be off, 10%, 20%. You can now be talking about a significant number, because everything is very tight and very small. This is a very small operation financially. So $100, $200, $300 is meaningful.
Well, they bill for about $300,000 a month, but they pump about 30,000 a day,
300,000 what?
gallons.
Gallons.
That's what they bill for, as I recall the
3
figures.
million, not 300,000.
No, 300,000 a month.
Times 10, it's like 3 million a year, yeah. 300 a month times 10 months is just 3 million. It's not-
I guess I was looking at the monthly figures
Yeah.
that showed that the monthly usage was, that they were pumping like between 1.1 million gallons and 3 million gallons, but that the billing was ranging from 7% of that to 22% of that.
The problem we have in this whole process is from the time you take water into the system until you go to try to reconcile this at the end of the month, you have nothing that you can really say is accurate. You bring your water in through a 10-inch pipe that has already been shown to be inaccurate. That recommendation was put in 7 years ago, and we still haven't done it. Now, what you're saying is that you have X number of prospective gallons within the system that you're gonna put out to people. But then again, you don't know what is accurate within the meters. I'm almost thinking that we may have to create a position within the town to audit those meters. Each and every meter that we have within the town. We may have to spend a few bucks to do it. My personal feeling is that we need to come up with a plan to put forth to the town at a special town meeting on how we wish to proceed.
Yep.
That is how significant. What this whole audit brought to us is facts that we need to bring forward to the town meeting. Okay, do we want to have elected, or do we want to have an appointed commission? What is the personnel that we wish to have within our water company, monitoring our water company, versus what the state requires? What do we need to do over the course of the next year to determine the accuracy of our own system? We have no concept whatsoever. The thing that jumped out at me in this whole audit report as to what we really do in order to get where we want to go. We don't know how much water is coming in, and we don't really have an accurate accounting of what we're billing. And I think that is totally unfair to the people of Egremont. I just think it's
If you
unfair.
knew 8 years ago or so, whatever, that a 4-inch line would have been more efficient than a 10-inch,
Mhm.
why was it never implemented?
Don't ask me, I'm not one of the
Well,
commissioners.
it's actually,
Yeah.
the
But that's something that
They're
should have
complicit,
happened.
and so is it the water enterprise fund. There's a lot of people who are complicit in that, who could have done something. That's all.
There's a lot of blame that can go around. I think the selectmen are to blame, the commissioners are to blame, you could blame the finance committee, you could blame
The town.
the town in and of itself. The bottom line is, we can go point fingers all day long. I think what we gotta do is we've gotta go back into here and see the evidence, and we've gotta put a plan together that we can present to the town to bring this water company forward and bring it forward accurately and properly. If we're gonna give the water company a subsidy, I wanna know exactly, down to the penny, how much water I'm paying for.
The whole purpose of an enterprise fund is to expose all of the direct and indirect costs to
Yes.
the town.
Yep.
It's obvious from the audit that that is not being accomplished by the current water enterprise fund structure. So something needs to be done there. Large question I have is, who develops this go-forward plan?
Well, I don't
Well, I
think anybody
think-
has
I
any
think we
confidence
have-
in existing management to
Oh.
correct the problems or to carry forward the plan.
However,
So that
they
question's kind of answered.
they
already.
are our elected
Which comes back to
commissioners.
Charlie's point, which we've talked about
There is that
previously.
process, Charlie, where
Yes.
you started I've got that here, where you started 60 days ahead of time, that the selectmen agree to put it on the warrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all we need, and then it will be just, and then we have our
Right.
thing too. So that process could be started, which is where we get rid of the elected commissioners, and the Board of Selectmen act as commissioners and appoint people to run
Right.
the
I
water
think it's
department.
gotta be a joint effort between the finance committee and the board of selectmen initially to go forward. I think you need an appointed board. That appointed board needs to be of those officials elected and appointed that know this issue right now, who can go forward and put a plan in place that ultimately can rectify this problem.
I think that this Sullivan's draft, I think gives us a blueprint of where to
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
The question is, to my mind, is who's gonna carry it out?
Well, this
And I
is
don't
where we
think that
don't have,
I don't think we have the people to do that.
I
think
just
Jack
said,
Muskrat is incapable of doing it. I think the water commissioners, as far as the, you know, the dynamics of the commissioners, the three commissioners, to me, I think only Charlie Agar's, I'm sorry, Steve Agar's the only one who does any work. Because I've been sitting in a couple of those meetings, and Palucci and, the other guy, just sit around and just say yes or whatever.
the reason why they do that is because there is this perception that your chairman has the final say. That's not true.
that's not true.
Which is why, and I don't even want to talk about their governance right now. What I want to do is, you want the plan to go forward? Let's take a look at putting together an appointed board composed of finance committee members, select board, takes the recommendations of Sullivan on the 21st, and I'm going to put him on the spot. I'm going to ask him for some recommendations. But what I want to do is I want to come out of that meeting on the 21st with a plan in place that we can present to the town of Egremont at a special town meeting. Because I think we need a special town meeting to address these issues, because it's the vote of the people ultimately that will carry the change forward.
Right.
We can't make the change as selectmen. You can't make the change as finance committee. The people can make the change at a special town meeting. We've just got to ensure that on the 21st, and that's why I'm glad this meeting took place. I was going to ask you to defer it and talk about this on the 21st, but I think we really have to have a plan in place.
Both boards
We
would
don't,
have
but
to
we don't
be,
need it
yeah.
on the, we don't need the plan in place on the 21st.
We've
We
got to
need-
have a proposal in place.
both boards
like-
gotta be ready,
To
you
go
know, joined at the hip and ready
Yeah.
to go in a certain direction. What direction that is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they gotta be ready to go in a direction.
We've got to be ready to discuss it. I would like to say we have a proposal. In a sense, Laura, what we've got to do is we've got to ultimately have a warrant article in place that
Right.
we can bring forward to the people at a special town meeting.
I have a question for you. This might be very helpful, as opposed to, yes, you'll have copies of the draft available for those citizens who
Yes.
should choose to come. I think it might be very helpful to have a point-by-point, recommended implementations, just bullet point
Yep.
type things and whatever, so that they can get their arms around it
I would almost ask,
specifically.
and Tom, you're going to hate me for this, but
It's
I
not
would
that
almost
way.
ask that you take and look at that and
Well,
give us.
For my own edification, I've already begun making a punch list, which,
Yeah.
you know, from my business background, that's the way you approach an audit. What was exposed? Generally, what is the cost? We know what those are, and then what is the resolution? I mean, what is the way forward? And, I mean, we're responsible, various boards are responsible to respond, even if it means pushing this to the water commission and say, you know, okay, here's the job at hand. It's a long list. And they need to come around and obviously be included in the solution set. I mean, they may say, we got it. We'll grab the bull by the horns, here's our thinking, and it may be brilliant.
You know the three biggest lies in the world?
The other hand, it could be that they say, this is overwhelming, and we need a lot of help. So it could be anywhere in between there, or either of those.
Can I suggest something? Would it be helpful for the meeting on the 21st to maybe the selectmen or to today sort of express our support or our lack of confidence based on this report in the existing water commissioners, and we should explore an appointed board, or express the sentiment of the finance committee that based upon this report that we again should consider an appointed board, so that who's ever speaking at that meeting, you or somebody else, can say, look, the sentiment of the finance committee is, we vote on
The
it.
consensus.
Consensus of
What
the
do you
finance
guys think?
committee is 6 to or whatever. They've got something to say, hey, the finance committee's on site to explore this and take it seriously.
I actually would like to get the list first, you know, get
Yeah, I agree
things
with
together first. And I think that is a question, fundamentally, for us to make a recommendation, but obviously it's gotta be resolved by the voters.
Is
But,
this
no, but I
something
think
where
I'm
we
trying to
should
find
have
something,
another
something to
meeting?
move it forward.
Is this something where we should have another meeting, select board and finance
We're
committee?
meeting next week.
Yeah, we're
right?
meeting next Wednesday, that would be helpful.
I'm trying to move something
Yeah.
that can be useful in the 21st meeting, short of a warrant on the article, but something that moves us forward to a town meeting.
There is nothing that is going to convince me that the current commissioners, as they stand, are going to be able to fix any of these problems.
No, there's no confidence.
I have no confidence in
I
them
will give you
whatsoever.
my experience. Okay, I started, I think back in February last year, pushing for billing within the town hall. And I forget who made the initial recommendation to me, and I ran with it, but we were in July, and we had this whole Jack Muskrat retiring, being reappointed, which I did not go along with. But we lost a whole month of billing there. So
Jimmy could have
These
gone out and
peop-
done that job.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't.
these people have had every opportunity to do the right thing. They haven't. And Mike, I agree with you 100%. I think we need to get the list from Tom. But I think maybe we should come together again next Wednesday. And we should be ready on the 21st to go forward. I don't have, excuse me, and all these people are my friends. But like I said before, I didn't get elected to take care of my friends. I got elected to do a job for the people of Egremont. I want to ensure that on the 21st, we're ready to go forward with something. We have got to fix this. This is not politics. This is about the town of Egremont. The Water Enterprise Fund is, I think, a great idea. It was a great concept. But it's been so woefully mismanaged that it falls upon us to fix it.
Do you think that after we establish our guidelines for what we want to do, to approach somebody like Steve Agar and say, Steve, this is a big job. It hasn't been done in the past. It must be done from now on. Are you up for it? Because if you're not, step aside. You think he would?
I don't know.
And if he accepts, who's going to step in? That's the next question.
Well,
You got the
you'd
finance
have to
committee and you
have
got
a-
the select board.
you'd have an
They're gonna
election.
have to step in.
It might be so, I don't know.
You know, if
Close
we
enough.
get the town to support an appointed board,
Yeah.
he can apply for the job just like anybody else.
The other thing I think is if a commissioner resigns, like when his term is on, I think an appointing board, such as the select board, can fill just that 6-month thing or something
This is a
like that.
question we need to get answered by town council.
I
Yeah.
think that can be done.
we
But
better get
maybe
that looked at.
we should have Mary look at that.
But I think at the same time, I think this whole concept, we need to go to an appointed board.
Is that legal?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
When
You're sure?
I
Yes.
was a selectman,
I mean, Tom was talking earlier just about
Many
the,
towns have made the transition.
yeah, let me,
According to John.
Here's how you do it.
and
I'll
they
give
don't
you an
lose the
example.
grant.
Years ago, when I was a selectman, we had a treasurer tax collector that had a tendency to bully people in the community. We as a select board voted to make that an appointed position. It was done at a special town meeting. It had to be done at a special town meeting because the people have to vote for it. And then it's submitted to the Secretary of the Commonwealth for final approval. Once final approval is done by the Secretary of the Commonwealth, it's an appointed position.
Seems to me that, I wonder if we went to a town meeting and presented this mess that we have here, whether the consensus of the meeting would be heads should roll.
Well, anybody with that
I-
would want blood.
I think, Ralph, if you have the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen working
Yeah.
together, I think people are gonna buy into it. You're gonna get a little bit of pushback, but I think you're ultimately gonna get buy-in. I mean, the only thing they could do is tar and feather me and send me out of town. But, I mean, you know, or any.
We just
Any
want
of us.
something that's gonna be efficient, that's
Yeah.
all we want.
We've
For the
gotta
betterment
get
of the
something
town.
that's, well, it's gotta be right. It's gotta be right, and what we've got now is not right.
It has not been right.
It
for
has not been
years.
for some
That's the
time.
problem.
And it's just snowballed to this point where it costs us $25,000 to find all these answers, and somebody's gonna have to act on this. Tom brought up a number of points, and I think both boards gotta go through them, decide how we want to approach this, whether it's a vote or whatever, and
I think Tom did a
appeal
great
to the
job.
people.
I think Tom did a great job of taking the lead
No doubt about
on
it.
this whole
He
process.
really did. Great job.
And I really want to thank you, you know, for what you've done. But I'm going to ask you, we just got to go that next extra step.
Well, like I said, just even for my own edification, it was something that, you know, from my background, you take this and you develop the next step. You don't just say, oh, very nice. Because, well, my background in business would be that this is amazingly brief. Typically, the audit would be a
Yeah,
thing like this, and half the time it became somebody's doorstep. I don't want dust to settle on it.
No.
that
The
was
town
very,
paid some significant money in order to get it done, and I think we did get some very solid answers, we got some very solid steps that need to be taken. And, you know, I think we can fashion recommendations, and then townspeople can make a decision.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's really not all that complicated. It's not all that mysterious.
No, it's
It's
not.
pretty simple.
what we did is we paid $20,000 to have Tom Sullivan come back and tell us everything that we already knew. But what he did is he gave us the backup data to support this so that we can go forward.
Yeah, it's an action document.
It's an action document, and we can move on it now.
If this were a big company, what would happen?
Heads
I
would
mean,
roll.
like any other consultant, okay, you hire a consultant, like, if you hired a consultant to tell you the time of day, what's a consultant gonna do? They're gonna come in, they're gonna ask you for their watch, your watch, they're gonna look at your watch, they're gonna see what time it is, they're gonna tell you what time it is, time of day it is, they're gonna give you the watch back, and then they're gonna send you a bill.
Well,
Okay, the beauty of this is that we now have actionable facts that we can now take forward and present to the town. We didn't have that before. All of it was speculation and innuendo. And we could get into the whole finger pointing exercise to the cops go.
Well, this fund's been audited before, hasn't it?
Well,
It's been audited, but not to this extent.
Yeah.
Not to this extent, it's been a financial audit,
I
they
think
sit there and they look
one
at in,
thing
out.
that's important to point out is that the operational audit that was conducted used software, human and intellectual capital that the town does not have at its disposal in order to give complete answers. Yes, most of it was things that we had tons of circumstantial evidence to back up. This got right down to the brass tacks. And to Charlie's point, we know now what occurred precisely. We have a cost associated with
What occurred?
what occurred, and we have some solid recommendations, and all of it has been compiled in one place, which I think is very helpful. So that's really what you paid for. You paid for that professional level
That's right.
of human and intellectual capital that
Objective
frankly the
capital.
town
It's objective,
couldn't
too.
master.
He essentially has given us a roadmap, and we would be fools not to follow the roadmap.
All right, guys, does anybody have anything more? Because Tom, you were going to prepare something for next
Right.
Wednesday for the selectmen and us? Yes.
No, that's what I was doing.
So we're going to meet then on Wednesday with the select
With the
board?
selectmen.
I'm volunteering the selectmen and
And
will
we'll
tell
have,
them.
I'll have Mary post, we'll make sure Mary
Yep.
posts for both of us.
I think it's good. I think if we get down and we're able to put our heads together, we're gonna be able to come up with
I have one quick thing.
I'll give it to you.
Yes, I saw it on my net, but somehow I thought it was printed out.
What'd you do, delete it from your smartphone?
No, I didn't do
I know,
that.
Rock, you deleted it from your smartphone by accident.
Folks, can I run off? I gotta go to
Yeah.
another
Nice seeing you, Charlie.
school
Thanks,
committee
Charlie.
meeting. So if you have any school committee stuff next week,
Oh, good.
we'll talk
We'll
about
be tied
that.
up with enough stuff.
Drive carefully.
See y'all later. Thanks.
Good night, Charlie.
I had a question from the chairman of the New Marlboro Select Board. He wanted to know if we had any interest in the two finance committees from the two towns having a joint meeting just to talk over the way we go about things, not about specific issues that are facing us.
Just
but
like how finance committees work, I mean, that type of thing.
Yeah. Is there any, you guys have any interest in that?
I don't have any problem with it.
Sure, are they buying dinner?
Yeah, I
Are
was
they
just gonna
buying
say
coffee?
Yeah, they're gonna bring in snacks that are
That's-
important.
You wanna get me there?
It seems like these people, just regular
Put
people.
up
who are-
Our
so
time
dinner
is precious,
someplace, we'll
I'll pass that along.
go over anything they wanna talk about over a drink.
They don't do
And
that.
a nice
Yes.
meal.
I had that a few
Yeah.
years ago when I.
Because if that can
There's gotta be a
happen,
little
you know,
room
I'm
for-
in that position right now, I see how much you know. what I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
it's also 10 years.
Well, I know.
I think it's more than 10,
Well,
it's like
how about some
12.
of those people who just get elected over there, so they're out in
Do we
space.
wanna go forward with this, or should we let it die?
I'd go forward. I mean, speaking as a member, I'd be happy to sit down and talk, because you know what, you never know what you're gonna find out or what you're gonna learn. And I don't have a full-time job, so,
Okay, should I say we're amenable?
yeah.
Okay.
What about you guys?
Which board is this?
New Marlboro?
Finance committee board, right?
When should we hold this, like sometime during the day? I mean, you still have to post the meeting, but like at 10 or something like that, or should we do it at night?
I think it's gotta be at night, right?
Does it have to be at night?
I don't know.
Or any
case
day
somebody
that
wants
ends
to
in
come.
Y.
Yeah, maybe after the 21st sometime,
Okay.
you know? Yes, Kelly?
Do we have a copy of the draft?
I will email it to you now that it's been we've had the
She
open
did
meeting.
not have it.
Now that we've had the open meeting, I'll email you,
Thank you.
There is one item that I think is not, I wanna get back to John on page 21, he says, at the top of the page, with rates already at excessive level. I don't think it's excessive, I think it's clearly comparatively high or much higher than average, but I don't think it's excessive.
no, I think
Because
that's right,
nobody
yeah.
is being driven out of their house
Not to
or,
mention, wait till these
not
people
using-
find out
Pay
that
the
they were only billed 8 times. What if
Yeah.
they were,
so even though it's much, much higher than average, there are all these other mitigating things that I'm gonna,
Tell them to change it at
I wonder
clearing
if-
levels or something like that, you know?
yeah.
I wonder if those other towns charge a debt service. Because-
They do, many towns do.
So that's taken into this, the
Yeah.
comparison is apples to apples?
Yeah.
the other thing too is a lot of towns would have a betterment fee. There were a lot of things done when this water company was set up that would have helped sustain it. It would have been, financially, what do you wanna say, financially solid,
Yeah,
put them on decent footing.
and there are several towns that have water, sort of like a water czar, who essentially is the commissioner, is a professional person, who is extremely knowledgeable about water and the operations of that water company, essentially in the town. But they run it like a company, and everything gets exposed to the taxpayer as a public company. That's the concept behind the enterprise
This is
fund.
no additional expense to the town though, right? If they're no longer elected officials with some compensation, we're replacing them, and they're not gonna have any compensation going forward if they're no longer required, so.
Well,
So it should be a wash,
We
roughly,
haven't
right?
paid anybody so far to be a commissioner or to be appointed, so.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on whether or not the townspeople decided to, or the select board decided you needed somebody to be employed in doing something.
Yeah, you probably do though.
That would be a normal, outcome if you see there's enough evidence that you gotta do something like that. But then again, that's to be determined based on how you're gonna respond.